What's up, everybody? My name is Joshua Yoder, and this is the Joshua Yoder Show. Today, I wanted to do a little something fun and basically bring back to my childhood and get my nerd on, if you will. Well, and today, I want to talk about the Nintendo 64. Can't believe that this year marks 30 years since the debut of the great system, and today is someone who knows a lot about the system and also had a lot of fun memories with them. And he is my identical twin, Chad Yoder. What's up, Chad?
Hello, my twin, and greetings, fellow life forms.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, before we dive into the N64, my twin, at the time of this recording, a wrestler that you and I both really love and respect, AJ Styles, is officially retired and going into the WWE Hall of Fame.
That is correct. The phenomenal one himself is joining the Hall of Fame. A well-deserved reward, in my opinion, as he is one of the greatest in-ring wrestlers in this era or of all time.
Well, no, he certainly made me a big fan of wrestling again. That's for sure. Seeing his days as TNA to where he is now. It was only a matter of time. I mean, I'm surprised it went that quick, but to be honest with you, he's deserving of it.
Whether it was slow or fast, it was a phenomenal ride either way.
No pun intended. But once again, congratulations to the phenomenal AJ Styles. Much deserved, and honestly, hope and pray you have nothing but the best in retirement.
Yeah, well done, AJ.
But speaking of which, 30 years ago, this year marks 30 years since the debut of the N64, my twin.
That is incredible. Like that, you want to talk about a revolutionary system. The Nintendo 64 is one of them.
It certainly was. I mean, it was certainly an interesting part of our childhood because at the time we were 6 years old when the system came out. I mean, well, according to this, in Japan, it came out first in Japan in June. It didn't come to the US till like September. So we still got a couple months away till the official debut here in America of the N64. But this year marks 30 years. And honestly, there was a lot of fun memories with that system. And honestly, going through the history of this, my twin, as I was looking up, I was like, wow, like there's a lot of games that are still among the greatest and most influential games of all time were a part of that system. And I think that's one of the reasons why it has endured so long and is so beloved by gamers.
Absolutely. It's been like to have an ability to still be popular even to this day for 30 years. That's an amazing feat. And a lot of games, like you said, they were very influential.
Yeah, and let's talk about a couple of these games here real quick. Some of the bigger names here, obviously, according to this, the most sold game that they had with 11.62 million units was Super Mario 64, which that game to this day is still quite popular. Heck, most people nowadays, when they see a 3D Mario, they're like, it's commonplace. But back in the day, man, that was the first one, and wow, was it good.
Well, that is true because before the Nintendo 64 came out, Mario, even though it wasn't 3D yet, it was still very popular. So this was like, for a lot of people, they felt like it was a big gamble from a popular 2D side scroller becoming a 3D world game. It was a big risk, but it was very revolutionary and it stayed true to the core of what made Mario great. And like you said, it was to this day, it's one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I love how you said, even though it was still a good game in 2D, like, I don't know, we just saved a whole gaming industry.
Exactly. That's how good he is.
I know, I'm just saying, don't sell it short, my twin. It's a good franchise. But I will say, to go, we'll get back to the N64 here real quick here. Or when we know this now that as we're older, being longtime gamers, but at the time we had no idea. Prior to the N64, Nintendo was actually going to release the PlayStation.
Really? I never knew that.
Yeah, like I was actually blown away by that. And there's actually some prototype systems out to this day people have. It's really rare, but they have the Nintendo PlayStation. I guess, apparently according to some according to some of these websites, they're like saying like you could play Nintendo cartridges as well as, PlayStation CDs with this system. But I guess something happened, between Sony and Nintendo, and I guess that led to Sony, launching the PlayStation back in '95. And Nintendo did something with Philip, which that didn't pan out too well. So they went and made the N64, which, and it's crazy to think like what had happened.
No, that's true. But I guess looking back on it now and I think about it a long time, it's probably like, as a big fan of video games, it's probably for the best. Both you had a brand new system, you had brand new mascots, and you still had the popular Nintendo building a great system and games. So I guess long term it worked out.
Yeah, too. And another thing too, a fun fact I loved about this was the last time until the Nintendo Switch came along that Nintendo used a cartridge for their games.
Really? That's
Yeah,
very interesting. I
yeah.
did not know that. I thought they always did use cartridge, but then again, I never did play the Wii that much.
Well, we definitely had a GameCube which had those small CDs, but we'll get to that another day. But talking about the N64 and some of these other amazing systems, or excuse me, these amazing games that are on the system. Another one which was a big influence in our life and definitely a fun game that we always had with friends. That was GoldenEye.
Oh yes, based on the James Bond series. That was such a fun game to play. I remember for us as kids, we would always go hang out with friends and we would try and like try to outsmart each other in GoldenEye. I remember all those secret tunnels we used to take all those stages. Oh man, it was such a good first person shooter.
It was, and like it set set a good standard for first person shooters. I mean, the movie itself, I was a big fan of the movie, but then when the game came out, I was like, wow, like that's pretty good. And like we said before, we used to go hang out with friends and we would, play against each other all the time. And of course, the only thing we guess we weren't big fans of is someone had the golden gun because once you get hit, you're just dead.
Yes, no, that was definitely an unfair advantage. But to tell you the truth, I think some of our friends already knew ahead of time where that golden gun was. So I think they were definitely cheating at those days.
It was definitely an overpowered powered weapon, that's for sure. And of course, we can't talk Nintendo. We can talk Mario, or excuse me, we can talk about Nintendo, we can talk about Mario, but another game that was highly influential and honestly is still among some of the greatest games ever made, and that was The Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time.
Oh
Which,
yeah, that was like from the definitely one of the most popular games in the Legend of Zelda franchise.
and it still is even to this day. I mean, there's people playing it on retro channels on here on YouTube, and people still even have the old systems and they just pop it in and play it. And it's like, wow, it's still so much fun to play. And there's several other games I definitely want to talk about, but I want to before we get to some of the fun games that we like to play. One of the things I always thought was interesting about the N64 was it's the controller. Do you remember the M-shaped controller?
Oh yes, I don't know why it was M shaped, but I thought it was kind of weird. Like it was definitely something different at the time when it comes to controllers for consoles because as when you go back to the Nintendo systems before it, it was just like a rectangle with a button, two buttons, and D-pad. With this, you had more buttons on one side and you had a D-pad on the other, but this time you had like a joystick in the middle of it. It was very interesting setup at that time.
Well, not to mention there was like another, I believe, a Z button that was on the back.
Yes, I think there was.
Yeah, like that one was kind of interesting. And also another interesting feature I will say about the controller of the N64 was the rumble packs. Do you remember the rumble packs?
A little bit. It's been a while since I've heard about those.
Well, you know how most controllers nowadays you have that vibration thing where like
Yeah,
if you hit something, you feel it on the controller.
yeah,
That was what that was for, basically. You can hit the rumble packs and you can like raise, like you play like a racing game and you can feel the controller vibrate, which I thought made it feel more realistic.
yeah. No, it was definitely interesting because one of the things I will say that I mean, even though it was a little difficult for some people when it came to that controller, it did have its benefits. Like for example, well, like one of the things they did was like had some racing games. So the joystick and middle really helped with that because even though the D-pad was okay, when it came to racing games, it wasn't really that reliable because you constantly had to like push the D-pad had all the time just to make sure you're going on a simple turn. But with this new controller and the joystick in the middle, it made playing games like that on Nintendo much easier.
It definitely grew on you too, and I think maybe that was part of the design. Was like, the joystick was used because there were certain games you can play, just use that, where other games you can just use the D-pad.
Right.
And another, along with the Rumble packs, there was also the transfer pack, which for those of you that may not know, it supported an N64 and Game Boy games. So you could actually, transfer your data from like the Game Boy to the N64.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have all the fancy stuff, but getting to read about all this stuff and then like remember some of the stuff from my childhood, it was definitely a lot of fun to play. And we mentioned games. Let's get to talking about some of the games here. There was a total of 388 Nintendo 64 games when it was officially released. 85 of them were exclusively in Japan, while a lot of the systems at the time, like the PlayStation, the original PlayStation had over 4,000 games. The Saturn had over 1,000. So it was definitely a small library, but man, was it a good library though of games.
Well, yeah, like they definitely showed how much Nintendo loved to entertain fans with good games and stuff. Because like not to be on like the top, obviously Mario, most of the games for Nintendo were Mario based. Like since we're like on the joystick part, it was like Mario Kart. That was probably like a really fun game to play all the time. Like you're racing with friends or the computer, and you have item boxes that you can use to help you in the race. It was a lot of fun.
No, it definitely was. And to be honest with you, there was a lot of good Mario kind of games that were on that system. I mean, let's talk about the Mario Kart though for a second. Mario Kart has been one of those amazing games that I've seen. Let me rephrase that: Super Mario Kart, I should say, or I'm sorry, Mario Kart. But there was a lot of fun games like that were on there, and definitely a lot of good times, when it comes to playing those games. And of course, Mario Party was another fun one we played a lot.
Oh yes, and you want to talk about that? That had so. What I loved about that game was you had like the main section where you were trying to get most stars to win, and then throughout the game you would do mini games to try and add points to your characters to try to win. It was and the variety of it was amazing.
And the replay value was incredible because you can try different strategies, or when you play different people, you got to deal with different strategies. So it was definitely a lot of fun to play that game. And speaking of another one that had all the Mario parties, and it was kind of like a homestead for us when it comes to playing on the N64, and that was Super Smash Bros.
Oh yeah, that's the first time that game was ever introduced was in the Nintendo 64, I believe.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. I love it.
You want to talk about like it kind of like Hanna-Barbera's Scooby-Doo Laugh Olympics. It was like an all-star cast of some of Nintendo's popular characters coming together. It was amazing. Like the stages were good. Each character you had were good. You had like items you can use. It was like Pokeballs. You can summon Pokemon to aid you. You have like Star Fox like laser sword. It was amazing.
Oh, and it was definitely a lot of fun. It was just something that you can just play together with friends or just by yourself and still be just as fun. And also another thing too that I liked about the game was you can unlock characters by playing, and you didn't even realize remember we had to fight a big character in order to unlock them. Nowadays you can just probably throw $20 out, maybe more, and you get characters in.
Well, I think, yeah, I believe so. Like, but it was only for like certain characters. There's like, but even if you didn't unlock them, you still had like I said earlier, it was just like a huge selection of characters throughout Nintendo's history. Obviously, you got Mario and Luigi. You had Link from Legend of Zelda. You had Zelda herself. You had Bowser. You had Pikachu. You had Captain Falcon from the F-Zero series.
Oh, don't get me started on that. That was probably another one of my favorite series. It was the F-Zero series. Underrated franchise, in my opinion. I wish Nintendo would do more.
But yeah, no, like it was like so many good characters. And I also believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I know it was in the newer Super Smash Bros. Games, but they had like characters from Fire Emblem in the original one, right?
That's actually a good question. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to let me see if I can look that up real quick. But yeah, like Smash Brothers was just so much fun, and you never got bored with it. Like that's the thing too. Like it just was so much fun to play. And it's just like you said, all these other characters, and you kind of mentioned it. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. I think F Zero is such an underrated game and really series. According to, let me see here. But yeah, like there were so many other good franchises and other games that were on there. But also another one that I don't think gets talked about enough, and I wish they would get like a remaster or a new game, and that's Star Fox.
Oh yeah, like that was like a first ever, like that was probably like one of the first times I ever played like a game where, I mean, obviously you could play as Fox, your Star Fox himself, but lots of times there are stages where you're playing in his space vehicle and you're taking out enemies in the sky and stuff like that, like a futuristic airplane battle.
Yeah, and so far, Chad, what I'm seeing is I don't see any Fire Emblem was not there in the beginning.
Okay, yeah, so it probably just came in the newer games.
Came in later on in the newer games, but I do remember just like I said, just tons of fun, and going back to the Star Fox thing. Excuse me, but just seeing a lot of that, and it's like, man, like do a barrel roll, if you will.
Oh yeah, I remember the I can't remember his name, but like the frog hair is like Fox.
Oh my goodness, that was some good times there. And I'm actually I got a list on me, my twin, and I'm going through as we're talking, and some of these games. And now, to be fair, when we had the N64, we didn't get to have a lot of games we played on, but we had a lot of fun games we played on it. And we'll get
Absolutely.
to those in a minute. But here's some games, my twins. I had absolutely no idea they had it. And you remember the movie The Blues Brothers?
Yes, it was that film based off that SNL sketch.
Yeah. There was a movie, there was a sequel to it called Blues Brothers 2000. Well, they made a game for the N64 for that.
What?
Yeah, I had absolutely no idea. Uh, oh, and right here's another good one here, my twin. Bomberman 64. That was a really good one.
Oh yeah, that was. I remember that. Like I think it was in the original O Nintendo system. Like that was just basically like you just run around and you were plant bombs out there, like deal with enemies. These in certain stages.
Yeah, and then definitely even, and that's another thing too that I will say. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Dreamcast, but the N64 was, in my opinion, the same way. A lot of these games were simple, but they were addicting and it was fun.
Well, I think one of the things again, like this is what makes Nintendo such a popular system, no matter regardless of the era, is that like they knew how to make games simple, but also give like sense of variety and different things that you can do within those games. So it's like you never get bored, and it made it a lot easier. Like if you had like you're done all the stuff you've done for your day, you need to take a break, you had something right there for you, and that's what I think, especially with the N64, is that they took that to a whole new level during that time.
Yeah, and the next game I found was one of the games that I really loved, and honestly, it introduced me to the one of my favorite series ever, and that's Command and Conquer.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, that was my introduction. It came out before, but it came out earlier, but they came out with the original one, back in '95. But then the N64 came out in 1999, so that was my introduction to the franchise. And it was probably one of my favorite series ever, personally, because I'm big into sci-fi and even strategy games. But that game was on there. Here's another one, which, boy, were parents fooled on this one. Remember Conker's Bad Fur Day?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh my goodness, that game was interesting because it was one of those games that you look at and you're like, oh, it's one of those cute, cuddly mascot things. And then you play it, you're like, nope, no child should be playing this game.
Because of the rated R language and stuff.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was yeah, it was definitely something. It was, I said, dude, can you imagine? Like back in the day, like that kind of caused a bit of, not a bit of a stir. It caused a stir, but man, like that game was. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was it was a good game, and I was just like, no, like you wouldn't expect that from Nintendo at the time.
Yeah, I also didn't that game also like had the ability to break the fourth wall.
Yeah, it did. That was a good one. I will say that. Oh, and here's actually a game, Chad, that you and I both liked. Well, a couple of them, but the first one I want to talk to you about was we mentioned Mario Kart. Remember Diddy Kong Racing?
Oh yes, it was kind of similar to Mario Kart, but it was like with Diddy Kong in his family racing game instead, and it was pretty good.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, and let me look this up, but I'm pretty sure you could do different vehicles. Like you can race in the water, you can race in the air. I think that's what made it stand out, but it was really good, I thought. I mean, that's just my opinion. I thought it was really well done. I just think because obviously it's Mario Kart. Mario Kart's so good, so
Well, now that I think about it, think like with Diddy Kong Racing, it kind of like inspired because with Mario Kart and the original Mario Kart, they had like great tracks, but it wasn't like what it is now. Like it was pretty much like I remember you and me when we were kids, we would play like the track that looked like you would be racing the Indy 500, but it's Mario.
well, it's definitely that game has definitely evolved and kind of like what we mentioned earlier, like it was, influential and stuff. It definitely has evolved in where now you can just go online and you can just race up a wall to pass your friends. I was like, what in the world? It's definitely evolved
It's
in.
it's definitely a Mario.
Yeah, and talk about how influential Mario was when it hit 3D with Mario 64. Another one was the return of Donkey Kong with Donkey Kong 64. It was
Now that
his it was his first adventure in 3D.
you also got to meet other characters from the Donkey Kong world. Like I remember, like you see Grandpa Kong. You saw I believe it was his cousin who gave you a tree log that was like just fired coconuts at people.
Homing coconuts. Yeah,
Oh man, that was
it
so
was
unique.
that was a fun game. But and again, you talk about influential, like anything like Mario did worked. Like there's Dr. Mario 64. Like it was a puzzle game, but it was a lot of fun. And also there was surprisingly again, like I was a this was during a time too where like you didn't really see Nintendo, and for the most part they still don't. They still try to be more like family friendly when it comes to things. But they had a lot of like adult games on this system. Like they had a pair of Duke Nukem games.
I still couldn't believe they did that. Out of all the games they had in their system, that was one of them.
Yeah, and which don't get me wrong, they were always fun games, but you wouldn't think Nintendo would do that. But hey, it was there.
Yeah, because
Remember?
like when I first heard of the Duke Nukem games, I remember it like on the PlayStation. Like, I never knew that Nintendo also had some.
Yeah, no, they did. I mean, they added more, but I always thought they were more still like family friendly and more like just about good fun games, which they still are. And oh, here's another one: Earthworm Jim 3D. Oh my gosh, Earthworm Jim. That was
Wasn't he like the Buzz Lightyear character with the spacesuit, but like it was just a little worm head?
yeah,
Good
yep.
God. That was a long time ago since I've played that game.
Well, it was the third game of the system at the time, and that was just there was just so much fun playing some of these games. And then you got, believe it or not, there's Elmo. You talk about family friendly. There's some Sesame Street games like in this system, like Elmo's Letter Adventure or Elmo's Number Journey.
No, yeah, no, I don't remember a lot of the Sesame Street games because, like I said, I was a big Mario nerd when we were playing the Nintendo.
Oh yeah, and they had like a lot of cool like uh fighting games on here, like Fighting Force 64. I have some memories of that. That was an interesting concept. It was a beat 'em up.
Yeah, like no, but didn't they also have like Mike Tyson Punch Out for the Nintendo 64, or was that a different?
That might have been the older. That was older system. They had Mike Tyson Punch Out. I don't think they had it for the N64. I mean, I'm looking at stuff right now, but right here I'm looking at GoldenEye again, which that game was so much fun. Oh my goodness.
I love like if we're gonna go back on that real quick, I want to say like I love the pyramid stage because remember like the secret walls that lifted up in the
Yeah,
air. Oh man, that was a lot of fun.
yeah, and actually, there was also a Hey You Pikachu. Remember that virtual pet game?
Yeah, that was that was really weird because it's like because again like being a fan of Pokemon, I just that was like a different type of Pokemon game. I guess I was just so used to playing Pokemon Red and like all those like adventure styles. So this like Hey You Pikachu, that was definitely a different pace.
Well, we mentioned it earlier about how you can do like the N64 and Game Boy games. Pokemon Stadium was, oh my gosh, that was one of my favorite games ever on that system. That was so much fun to play.
Oh yeah, I know. Like with all the choices you could pick for Pokemon, and like I said, I think that's what also made Nintendo 64 so revolutionary. Is because, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was the first system to allow your Game Boy, like if you have a Pokemon game in your Game Boy, you can actually put all your Pokemon from that system into the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, no, yeah, especially I think if they match up, they will. But also, and honestly, Pokemon, which we could talk about another time, they're now officially 30 years. But but Pokemon Snap was that was kind of like a fun game. Like that was underrated. Like I actually enjoyed Pokemon Snap, where like you try to take photos, go out in the wilderness, take photos of Pokemon. And I'm like, it was so simple, yet it was so fun.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, when I first heard about that game, I was a little worried because I felt like it was kind of like a mini game being put into a big game. So I didn't think it was going to be that well, but it actually turned out to be pretty good.
Yeah, and here's some other titles I've been looking up, like Hybrid Heaven. That was like a sci-fi-ish kind of game. It was like an action role-playing game. That one, like I don't have too many memories of that, but I do remember it off, on my head a little bit. Wish I could remember more. Oh, Jeremy McGrath Supercross. Oh, I was a big fan of Jeremy McGrath as a kid, and still am. But that was a fun game to play. Do a little bit of dirt bike racing.
Speaking of sports, like didn't Nintendo 64 have like Tony Hawk Pro Skater video games?
I believe it did. Yes, I believe it did.
That
And
was a lot of fun. I remember like me, you, and our older brother or Cody, we would always like try to grind rails and all that stuff, like try to use the half pipe. Like,
without question. And and here's another franchise I think is super underrated. Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards.
oh man, Kirby in general is oh man, you want to talk about iconic? Like besides Mario and Link, Kirby's probably like one of the most iconic characters within Nintendo's
I love
history.
Kirby. I'm not gonna lie, I love Kirby. I think Kirby's an underrated character, and he's like Star Fox. He's so much fun to play. And well, I like boxing, my twin, and in the Fight Night series. Well, here's a series that started before it became Fight Night. It was called Knockout Kings 2000. That was a lot of fun game. Uh, Along with Ocarina of Time, they had Manjara's Mask. That was a fun game.
Yeah, they actually had like a lot of Nintendo 64 had a great run. They had a multiple Legend of Zelda games as well as Mario. Well,
Yeah, and here's some other
good thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned Mario. Here's Mario Golf. You got Mario Tennis. Mega Man 64. Oh my goodness, that one was fun. There was some definitely a lot of good games on here. And again, for such a small library, it was a lot of fun. It really was. Geez, I forgot about this game. Do you remember Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, that adventure game?
Yeah, I remember. And all I'm going to say about that is I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, that didn't pan out too well, but
I'll give him praise for the cinematic movie look, but everything else, again, I appreciate the effort.
oh, I forgot about NFL Blitz was on this system, and I remember playing a lot of the NFL Quarterback Club. I love that game a lot.
They had a ton of different football games because didn't they have Madden on the 64?
They did have Madden. They did have Madden. They had Olympic hockey. Remember that? Instead of
No,
just
I don't remember playing any of the Olympic games when the 64.
Oh, well, it was a long time ago. I thought that one was a good one. Paperboy, remember Paperboy?
Yeah, that actually I really loved that because it was like an arcade game first, I believe, before we came into the 64. And the how and you want to talk about like the Nintendo 64 controller being useful, that really helped out in a lot of stages with the joystick.
Yeah, and also is talk about another underrated franchise that once again associates with Mario, and that was Paper Mario. The
Oh,
original the original Paper Mario made its debut on the N64.
it definitely was unique on that sense because it kind of went back to like the 2D side scroller, but you added elements to it where it was like obviously Mario was made of paper, and he could be like you could turn him into like fold him over into certain objects so he can cross tasks or go into landscapes. Like you could fold him up into a boat so he could sail across the ocean.
Excuse me. And well, yeah, no, I agree with that 1000%. And honestly, Chad, I found this game was only released in Japan, but we are a bit of fans of it. There was a Ultraman game on here.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, because like it was only in Japan because obviously at that time, in most of that stuff like the kaiju battles were obviously only in Japan, and a lot of people we probably didn't know much about Ultraman until later on in the mid 2000s.
Or maybe early 2000s, I think it was when it came out. But regardless, and talk about first person shooters, this was actually another one of these games I really liked because I love the concept of it. And I think it's underrated mainly because it had to follow GoldenEye, and that's Perfect Dark.
Yeah, I remember.
Perfect Dark was a very good game. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a little biased because I do like sci-fi, but like it was like a sci-fi-ish game where you follow a Jonah Dark who is an agent that's trying to stop a corporation and Datadyne. That was a really fun game. And
No, it
honestly,
was a fun game, but I think one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't like it is because, like you said, it kind of seemed a little bit too much like GoldenEye. Like it didn't. Sometimes it felt like even though you had a different character, it felt like the same game.
well, I don't think they necessarily hated it because of that. I think it was a really popular game. I just think because it followed GoldenEye, I think people just kind of like, you're like, yeah, it was fun, and stuff like that. And oh, that's right, Pokemon 1 and 2 were on the N64. I don't know why I thought, that one, but we'll probably do a episode on Pokemon at another time. But man, was that popular. That was a big part of our childhood.
No, they had like so many unique games and especially like Pokemon. Like I also believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was actually a volume series game that came out that was based off of arcade games. It was called Midway Arcade Volumes. It was video games like a whole different like arcade games put into one cartridge. That came out on the Nintendo 64. Or like you had all these different like arcade games that was created by Midway.
Midway, yeah, that I'll have to look that up here in a minute. I'm just going down alphabetically here at the moment. But yeah, Quake 64. Oh, I forgot about Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. I forgot about that one. There was a Razor freestyle scooter. Oh, they had Rain Man 2, The Great Escape. Remember Rain Man?
Yeah, it was that goofy little cartoon with the helicopter ears.
Yeah, and not to mention one of the best games of the series, history of the series, Resident Evil 2, which is also, maybe we can talk in depth maybe another time, but 30 years ago, Resident Evil debuted, I believe, in 1996. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're getting old, my twin.
Yeah,
But
it's life.
Road Rash 64, that's right. Ridge Racer 64. There was some good, honestly, again, like I can't stress this enough. There was a wide variety of video games that came out from different kind of genres and different kind of gaming styles, like racing, platformer. It was all fun. And this system had it all.
Yeah, no, it was definitely one of those things. Like I actually found out right here is for the Nintendo 64, you remember this game from the Game Boy, Tetris. They had a Tetris 64 game on there for the Nintendo 64. That
Yeah,
was a lot of fun.
yeah, that was, and I also liked Sim City 2000. Oh, I love the Sims. Sims is such a good fun series.
Yeah, no, that was always a lot of fun. Even when as we went on to later systems, that game was so much fun to play because and it's like you're just playing as like either as like a single person or a family. It's like it was such a cool game.
Yeah, no, and then definitely it was, interesting in so many ways. Oh, remember the Spider-Man game? I forgot about Spider-Man. Yeah, it came out in 2000.
Yeah, I believe it was like in a 2D format though, kind of like those old like that old Power Ranger the movie video game, but I'm not 100% sure.
No, I'm actually pretty sure it was.
Like it was like 3D.
I'm not sure actually. That's actually a good point. Yeah, I'm not sure actually now that I think about it, but oh, right here, Star Fox 64. I mean, that again, how is I mean, I know Kirby just came out with a new game with the new, Switch 2, but holy crap, like Star Fox, can we get a new Star Fox game, please, Nintendo? Just please.
Oh man, I'm pretty sure like when that comes out, when the news comes out, they're making a new game like that. I'm sure people will be like, super excited.
Oh, it's got to be because it's such an underrated. And to be honest with you, Nintendo used to make a whole bunch of systems anyway with all these different games, and it's just I don't understand why they don't continue to make new ones. I don't know if it's just because they don't think they can make money off of it, or I don't know, dude.
Well, I think it's just one of those things where it's like they see something that people like and they just try to make their best with what they got. But I think somewhere down the line, Star Fox will have a new game because it's a very everyone likes Star Fox. It's a good character. Or I'm sure it'll be back with a new game.
Here's some funny and ones as well that was on there. You mentioned Tetris 64. That was fun. Well, it was only well, I should say it was only in Japan. I should say, according to this. But here's another game. Remember Tarzan from the movie?
Oh yes, that was a fun game. Like you were playing all these different. You were playing as Tarzan. You're doing all these different stages. Just yeah, it was fun.
Oh, and do you remember? You remember Winnie the Pooh, right?
Oh yeah, it was that's an iconic character.
There was another the tiger Tigger. He had his own game called Tigger's Honey Hunt. I forgot about that one. Yeah, I forgot about that one. It was definitely one of those friendly ones. Of course, the Tony Hawk games were always a lot of fun. But we used to, like you said, we used to play that. That was one of the games we used to play with our older brother Cody a lot. Which, to be honest with you, I kind of wish he was able to be on here because he had a lot of fun playing this game too. And we'll get to some of the games that we really want to talk about as well. Playing in there, I remember Triple Play Baseball. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that was the one baseball game we had where you can customize existing teams. I'm not 100% sure, but because I
No,
remember.
no, you're thinking of the All Star Baseball games where you can make expansion teams.
Okay.
That was All Star Baseball, but yeah, but even some of the other games. Now, let's talk about some games like I've always heard, but we never got a chance to play, mainly because, like you said, it was in Japan. First one that pops up to my mind here is Virtual Pro Wrestling 2,
Yes,
which
I thought
many
that
of our fellow fans of pro wrestling say it's arguably the greatest pro wrestling video game ever made.
well, as you know, like there were a lot of wrestling games at that time, so you can say that's debatable. But I definitely think like, it was definitely a good game at that time because it was like they actually helped out make actually with the system that they had. They had such a good, believable matches and all that stuff, and obviously it was only in Japan, so most times, even if you did get it in America, couldn't really have it in English.
Yes, and not that it's anything bad. It's just
No,
that's
it's
how
just
it
how
was.
it is.
Yeah, and talking about some other games here. So let's get to the nitty gritty about a lot of this stuff. Obviously, some of the games we played a lot was definitely Smash Bros. Definitely Mario Party and a lot of the Mario stuff. But what a lot of people don't know was that made the N64 memorable for us was a lot of the pro wrestling games that were on it.
Oh yeah, so they had like I said, like Virtual Pro Wrestling was, or like they had like I believe they had like No Mercy, I believe was in there.
Yeah, No Mercy. That was the video game that really, well, truth be told, it was really the wrestling game that many people love in here in America. You know, it was definitely big for us and our family because it we created our own little wrestling clan, if you will, our own wrestling faction.
Oh yes, that's like the creative features were pretty cool at the time. I love some of the features they had, and it was pretty good with what they did with No Mercy. I enjoy that game to this day.
Oh, and yeah, the oh I forgot. Wait, WrestleMania 2000 was on the N64. Huh? I didn't remember that.
Well, I think that game came out later, like in later years before they went from the Nintendo 64 to the not Dreamcast. The I believe it was the GameCube that was next.
Yeah, and like the Xbox and all that stuff. And there was another a fun game. Obviously, No Mercy was probably our favorite one, but I didn't know James Bond had a new "The World Is Not Enough." I didn't know I didn't know that came out for the N64. That was interesting to say the least. I mean, that was a good movie too. But obviously, there was another amazing game along with No Mercy. It was WCW NWO Revenge. That was a fun game. We were big into wrestling at that point in time of our lives because we just loved wrestling. We didn't really have a side, to be honest with you, Mike. When we weren't, people asked us, "Were you WWE or WCW?" And I was like, "Well, I like it all."
Well, no, because we just like the creativity of pro wrestling in general. Like what you said with WCW NWO Revenge, what we liked about it the most too was I believe that was the game where you could take a wrestler, like say Sting, and you could say he's part of the NWO Wolfpack or he's part of the Four Horsemen. Like you actually change his look to like a faction and all that stuff. And you could do the same thing with all the wrestlers, like say Goldberg, like he could be part of the NWO Wolfpack. Like they had so many like interesting features that just made the game fun.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And like, when we got to, play wrestling games with our older brother, like this was like big pro wrestling time for us. And we got to hang out with some of his friends and we got to create our own characters, be part of the group, and we get to help wrestle and all that stuff. Like, I remember WCW Nitro was on there, WCW Mayhem. WCW Mayhem was a pretty fun game, I thought. Um, well, then there's WCW Backstage Assault, which, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the idea was for that.
And ECW even had a game on here, my twin, Hardcore Revolution.
Yeah, I still couldn't believe that Nintendo was willing to put a game like that on
Well,
there.
those games were, yeah, ECW was definitely something. That's to say the least.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
But oh my goodness. But no, it was just that was really the kind of games we were playing as kids, especially during that time period, was pro wrestling games. It's just, for those of you who don't know, we had our own little group. We were called DRX, which was D Revolution X. For anyone that's
like DX parody.
yeah, well, first of all, we had no say in the matter. We were just happy to be there, but we were being, Cody's little brothers, and everybody, a lot of his friends were the ones that named it, and we just went with it because we were like little kids. We didn't really know any better.
Yeah, but it was still enjoyable. I remember, or like with we want to talk about like the No Mercy. I remember they used to like use our old VCR and record like a show together or all that stuff, and Cody would show us throughout that time, and I'm like, oh man, that was so much fun. Like they made their own little wrestling show.
No, it was, man. I mean, it just well, and they also like, yeah, we had like you said, commentary, or like we actually tried to like book, so to speak, in wrestling. Like we were trying to come up with storylines and like for people and all that stuff, and like just trying to make like we saw on TV. We were just trying to make some good, fun shows, and just entertain ourselves and maybe other people that may or may not have loved wrestling.
Oh yeah, it was so much fun. And man, like I enjoyed it very much. Like, well, I believe this is No Mercy. Like, they even could let you have the commentators wrestle. So too, like I remember Cody having JR play like as a character and go up against somebody, which I thought was very enjoyable.
Yeah, no, you literally everyone can wrestle. You can literally do anything you want in that game, which honestly you can't really, not to be a Debbie Downer, but you can't really do that anymore nowadays.
No, I mean that would be kind of cool. I wouldn't mind doing like something like that again with a wrestling game of today. That'd be pretty cool. But like I said, No Mercy really did a good job with that.
And
I think my favorite match, I think my favorite thing about the game was like how they set up like the Royal Rumble. Like, I just thought that was great. Like it was so much fun.
well, and I remember like you can pick a wrestler, you can go through like a story mode. Like you could be anybody, like just say like you can be like Blue Meanie, and you got to go through like a year and like wrestling, like a season of like what you go from one place to WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, that was pretty cool.
That was a lot of fun. I miss days like that, and and like again, you talk about like being universally loved. It was like a lot of people like don't realize like even to this day, this game as well as virtual pro wrestling too. They set the standard of like what a lot of people love about pro wrestling games, but it's just it is what it is I guess anymore.
Well, maybe somewhere down the line, I there'll be something there. Like because again, like you said, No Mercy was very influential to when they came out. Like a lot of people enjoyed the game and they loved the creativity behind it. So
Well,
maybe
and
down the line there might be something that coming down.
well, I will say this though. According to this, and I like I said, I'm just reading off one up some stuff I'm researching. It says it was one of the best-selling titles for the N64. In fact, it was the third best-selling wrestling game for the N64. So it definitely still lives up. In my opinion, it still lives up to be one of the best video games ever made. At least for the N64, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of good memories on that one. And here's another one too, Chad. I forgot all about Yoshi's Story. Remember that one?
Yeah, I believe so. I think it was like I believe it was like the one where you were playing as Yoshi and you had to carry like a baby Mario, or is that, or am I thinking of a different Yoshi game? Because I'm not 100% sure.
Let's see here. I believe, yeah, yeah, it's starting to do with Baby Bowser and all that.
Good grief. That poor Yoshi can't get a break.
No, he cannot. He cannot. And here's like another thing too. Like I don't know much about home brewing games, but there's been some games that people have even released like recently. Like, and I didn't know that. Like, there's some games that are like, wait, they made a port for it for retro consoles and like they made it playable for the N64. Like, I never knew that. And there's even some games like, even though we never played, like, say, for example, we never played the Atari Jaguar, but seeing all these different like people now making games that were unreleased or like they just made new ones based off the technology is like, wow, this is really amazing. So that's really cool to see like people still making some N64 games.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, I think that's pretty cool that people are doing that.
Yeah, it was, and one game in particular, I honestly I've never heard of this. It's called 40 Winks. This came out for the N64. It was an unreleased, I should say, it was an aftermarket release. It wasn't a homebrew game. Let me rephrase that. It was supposed to be released for the N64 in the 2000, but it got canceled. But it did come back eventually in 2019. So I was like, wow, there's definitely a lot of fun stuff right here. But let me ask you this, my twin, and we can go in more in depth at another time if you'd like. But since like this is 30 years, let's just go 3 games that you think were memorable for you. Maybe we might even have to go top 5 because there were so many good games. And they don't have to be in any particular order. You can just go 5 games that you feel like, oh, I can play this anytime I want. What would say be some of your games?
My top 5 games that I found influential.
Yeah, for like the N64. Just like, and you don't have to list them in order. You can just pick 3 or 5. The
Okay,
game
well, obviously I'm a Mario fan, so I'm going to say Super Mario World,
Mario 64. You mean
Mario 64, obviously Super Smash Brothers,
and
Pokemon Stadium,
3?
um, Mario Golf because we played that a lot in the 64. And I believe my 5th one will have to be Paperboy because it was like you want to talk about like bringing like an old game to a new system and it still worked out so well. That's incredible.
You're not going to pick No Mercy in that top 5?
I guess No Mercy. I guess No Mercy would be in there as well. Well, there was another game that I wanted to, but I want to be a more positive influential. This game I'm thinking right now is more of a negative influential.
Well, no, I'm talking about if you pick games that you liked and then you wanted to play. It doesn't have to be influential. It's like, what game did you like?
But definitely No Mercy. But I definitely think Pokemon Stadium was definitely one of them, as well as Super Smash Brothers. And I definitely liked Mario 64 and Mario Party. I definitely like those.
All right, there's your 5. For me, I would have to go with No Mercy, of course. That was a big part of my childhood and my love of pro wrestling. So that's 1. Another one, I would have to give some love to Command and Conquer. That was definitely a fun game for me and really opened my eyes, and why is one of the reasons why I love sci-fi so much is because of the Command and Conquer series.
It was a very good strategy game.
So that was 2, correct?
Yes.
Okay. For me, 3, I would have to go with GoldenEye.
No, good choice.
That was a good one. Another, my 4th one, I would have to go with Perfect Dark because I think it's an underrated game.
All right.
And my last one for me, I know this is kind of a tough one because talking about fun, but also there's actually 3 games I'm trying to debate to be in the 5th spot for me.
You say all 3 of them if you want, because again, this Nintendo 64
they're all tied. Because that's one of the things, man, like maybe it'd be easier to do a top 10 because this system was so good. But honestly, I'm down to like the 3. Like F-Zero X was fun. Jeremy McGrath 2000, motocross was, or super cross, excuse me, was a lot of fun. But also, I completely forgot what the 3rd one was now. It's Star Fox. Star Fox. That's another one I'm like debating. I'm like, can't figure out which one I liked more.
Yeah, they were all so good, man. Like,
but then you mentioned Smash Brothers, so that's 4. So I'm like, this 5th one's gonna be tough.
No, it's tough. Like, when you have these games, it's hard to pick like a list of games that you really enjoyed the most.
It is. I mean, like that's just, to be honest with you, it's been a long time since I played an N64. I miss playing that system, and we don't have one, unfortunately. But I'm just gonna say Star Fox just to say I got 5 in. But this is probably gonna be changing a lot, to be honest with you. Especially if I haven't. I would like to look back at some and watch some of these old ones, see which one I like more. Maybe that'll be easier.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, no. So yeah, honestly, I wish we could have had Codeman on here, to be honest with you.
No, that would have been awesome to see.
That was a fun system, to be honest with you. The N64, so many fun memories as a kid, and it's crazy to think that's this coming September it's going to be 30 years old.
No, that's amazing. But actually, we have a question. You guys have talked about great games from the Nintendo 64, but were there any bad games from Nintendo 64?
Who asked that question?
I'm just a random person, and I'm like, and I wish they didn't ask because I already have one game in my head that I wish I could get rid of.
Honestly, I didn't really care much for WCW Backstage Assault.
I'm thinking of Superman.
Oh gosh, no!
Terrible.
Oh gosh, that game was terrible. No, I definitely did not like that. And to be honest with you, that game was terrible.
Look, the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman crashing into the dumpster because that's how bad that game was. Good
Dude,
God.
that game was
What were they
absolutely.
thinking?
Dude, that game was horrible. Ugh, I don't even want to. I'm trying to be more positive here on here, but
We are. We're being positive of how bad it was, and I'm bringing joy to it because I'm pretty sure a lot of people would be laughing right now with this.
yeah, that game was. Gosh, that just. Ugh. Yeah, that game was definitely. That game was definitely. Yeah, that was definitely something here, but. Ugh, gosh, that game was absolutely horrible. That might be definitely the worst ones, but oh gosh, I wish. Yeah, honestly, I kind of wish you would have kept that to yourself, Chad.
But hey, I'm still enjoying. That was they're like, but no, but still overall. Besides that game, the Nintendo 64 had like it was probably like one of the toughest like consoles to beat when it came to having good games. Like that was just overall, I enjoyed it. I miss it very much.
I will say this though, I wasn't too big on with the exception of maybe like the pro wrestling stuff and maybe some of the all-star baseball. But some of the sports games I wasn't too big on, mainly because I wasn't used to the controllers or the controller for the system. Like when I usually played sports games, I will say I like the PlayStation and Xbox were a lot more fun and easier to use. But other than that, I really enjoyed the system. So I can't. I will say a game that wasn't really good though too was we mentioned earlier the Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub Zero.
Yeah, it
That
wasn't that good of a game. Like I mean, like I said, I thought the cinematic cutscenes and stuff was well done. On it was. I mean, obviously in today's standards, a lot of people don't think it was that impressive, but back then that was pretty good what they were trying to do.
yeah, it's just
But
the game.
overall, but the gameplay and controls were kind of weird.
Yeah, it was just that was kind of bizarre. Mortal Kombat 4 wasn't necessarily that you know great either, honestly, but it was definitely um, it was definitely interesting ones. Another game I thought was underrated. Oh, and I thought about it more, but the Knockout Kings 2000. I was like, man, that was another fun game to play. But yeah, no, man. But like you said, man, like this system again is just. Can you believe it's going to be 30? This year is going to be marking its 30th year.
No, that's I'm happy for them. I'm like, congratulations to Nintendo and more specifically everybody that came up and developed the console and the games. You should all be very proud of this achievement, and it's like I said, it's like so many memorable games.
Yeah, and we gotta like. There's a lot of emulators too, like to help keep this thing alive because this was such an influential system. Like a lot of games of today, people nowadays take those stuff like that for granted. Where back in the day, we were like, this was all new to us, and the N64 brought a lot of like possibilities when they were starting to do the 3D thing. So it was definitely arguably one of the best systems ever, if not the best system. I mean, according to to go back on it a little bit here. Do you remember the G4 or Tech TV G4 show Filter?
Yes, it was a very good show.
Yeah, like it was talking about how it was according to Filter, it was voted the number one system. So
Yeah, no, it deserves it. It was definitely number one. And it was, like I said, I will say this to the end of time. It's like it's one of the greatest systems of all time, and it's going to be rare to find something that can match it.
that is, man, and dude, I miss it. I miss it a lot. Like honestly, I kind of miss like games like that where you can actually like hang out with your friends and you just have a fun time, like and just silly fun too, like Smash Brothers, Mario Party, Mario Kart, and then you got of course No Mercy, which is probably our favorite games, and then you got it's just so many things you can do with that thing, and
No, it was definitely a lot of fun, and I definitely think like back to like say Super Smash Brothers. Do you remember the special features you could have in those battles? Like there was one called Super Sudden Death, where you were all up to damage to like 100%
yeah,
damage.
we used to do that a lot.
That
That
was
was
fun. I remember, and I also remember we used to chuck like we had only one item, and that was the bombs that had the feet,
Yeah,
and we kept chucking them at each other.
we
Oh
had
man,
the 300 plus damage.
yeah, that was
All
awesome.
those
Good
good.
time.
Yeah, but no, hats off to you, Nintendo, for making such a great game, and thank you, my
Mhm.
twin, for coming on here, come down memory lane with me.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it very much. Man, I'm happy to be here.
No, absolutely, and to just again, congratulations to Nintendo, and thank you for such an amazing system, and hopefully, we can still talk about it 30 years after this, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like,
But hey, once again, thank you, my twin, for coming on my show today.
thank you for having me, my twin.
Awesome. And to everyone out there watching, thank you for watching. And I love you all. And God bless. Be safe, everybody.
Bye.